I mean, it doesn't make sense to us, especially based on a report that's got this much handwriting on a draft. It doesn't make sense, you know? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense how you could act so hastily without getting to the bottom of what happens in this report.
And again, it's not hastily, I think, Mr. Antonelli.
Well, it's not hastily?
No, we have been talking about this. We have been talking about this issue for well over a year.
How long?
Well over a year.
A year?
Yes.
When did this report get released to the committee? The Renahan report?
To the committee in full in April?
It's dated September of '06.
Yes, and it went to the
That's over a year ago.
It went to the commissioner.
To who?
It went to the police.
The police commissioner? Okay. So you've had it for over a year? You've had the report for over a year?
He has.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Both versions?
Probably 1 year.
Did we get charged double? Because we got two versions of the report?
No, we did not.
No. What prompted this study to begin with, the Renahan study? Does anybody know? Why did the township elect to do this? Or have the police department studied in that manner?
Yes, let me answer that. Mr. Darby, and by your own statement, you just said that there were some problems with the hierarchy
right.
in the administration.
Okay, you're right.
That was one of the reasons why we had to take a look at this particular problem.
I can't hear you.
That is the reason why we took a look at this problem. By your own admission, you said there were some problems at the top end of the organization. All right, that filtered down to us. As a result of that, we had to take some actions to address that issue.
Okay. And when did that? When the commission was studied? Well, I mean, when the study was commissioned, is that when you became aware of the problems there? That there were problems within the police department or within the hierarchy of the police department?
No, it filtered down through us, but again, by your admission. I'm sitting back here.
Well, you want to use my words, but I understand that. But I'm asking you, you're answering the question, right?
Please, let me speak, and then you can speak.
Okay.
Okay? By your own admission, all right? There were some problems in the hierarchy that filtered down to the township committee. Mm-hmm. As a result of that, there had to be some action taken. This is the action that we're taking.
I'm just asking you when it happened, when you became aware of it.
It was over a period of time. It didn't just occur. Obviously, because you are, within that particular organization, you know better than I do. So maybe you can tell me that.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the police commissioner can answer. When did you become aware of the problems that prompted this study?
We believe there have been problems for a long time.
Just problems? Nothing specific? How did you become aware of these problems?
Through discussions. Through the Labor Council, through discussions with the administrator, through discussions between ourselves, the discussions with other officers.
And the police department says 20 seconds saved us and made this town in 20 seconds there's problems there, right? That prompted a study that has handwriting all over it, that doesn't make sense, that now we're making appropriate authority, you're passing an ordinance recommended township administrator become the appropriate authority on a report that, quite honestly, something should be done about it. Something should be done. This should be postponed until they get to the bottom of this report.
Okay. And again, we've responded, and you were
right, you said
told
there's no investigation.
We've just said that this ordinance is not based on the Renahan report.
Okay. So what are we using the report for then?
Anything that we're allowed to have reports done on for any reason that we feel that will help us better govern this community. It doesn't have to have anything to do with this ordinance.
Okay. The last thing I just want to say is, you're elected by the residents to represent the residents, and transferring your appropriate authority as the elected official to a non-elected township employee. Just want to know, do you feel that, you're transferring your responsibility the residents assume that you should have? Do you feel that at all?
No.
No?
I mean, we've had public safety directors in this community in the past. We've had a lot of non-law enforcement officials running. We don't believe so.
Okay. That's all I have right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Fuentes. I live in Bridgewater. I'm the state delegate for PBA Local 69, which is the the local that represents your police officers. And I'd like to thank you, Mayor Restivo, and the rest of the Township Committee for the opportunity to put my input on this very important issue, which I believe will determine for years to come the future of this township. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the PBA, of which I am the state delegate. The question of who should be the appropriate authority is so important that in fact hundreds of people are here tonight and possibly thousands more are watching these proceedings on 34. In the end, it will be your decision, and again I must emphasize that this decision will affect not only the police department but every one of the 50,000 plus residents of the township. It is also my opinion that there will be a political cost to each of you if you give away this intrinsic power, that of the appropriate authority which you now have, and which is entrusted to you by the citizens of this township. Giving it away to a single, unelected person who has shown himself unworthy of this great responsibility. As I mentioned during the last Township Committee meeting on November 12th, since becoming the state delegate of the PBA, I have had the opportunity to meet and speak with all of you, and I've found that your motivation for running for office and serving this community are genuine. This body, the Township Committee, is presently the appropriate authority. Each of you in your tenure as members of this committee, along with Chief Kramer and the members of the PBA Local 69, have worked together and have made the Union Police Department a nationally recognized organization. The Union Police Department, under your leadership and that of Chief Kramer, has had a deep commitment to the philosophy of community policing. Our efforts in this regard have formed a strong positive relationship between the members of the public and this police department, and truly these efforts in community policing have lived up to our motto of what is good for you is good for you. I was going to go into a list of programs that we now have, but I'm sure you know. DARE, great, the Junior Police Academy, the October 30th on Mischief Night, where 400 to 500 children spend the night and they don't create criminal mischief. There's a daddy-daughter dinner, which is also very popular. Neighborhood Watch that program that we conduct. The accomplishments of this department by using the community policing model have proven themselves with a steady 10-year reduction in crime. These accomplishments are proof that for years this chief, this police department, and this township committee have worked together to protect and serve this community. This is about to change tonight. For years, Mr. Bradley has done everything possible to create conflict between the township committee and this police department. His goal has been to wield control of the police department from the township committee and the chief. His authoritarian top-down management style, which is based on control and a complete mistrust of his employees, has already had an effect on our department. The community policing program has been cut and replaced by what he calls CompStat. This form of CompStat relies on berating supervisors at weekly meetings and directing our police officers to make motor vehicle stops based not on state law or motor vehicle violations, but a misapplied concept called community caretaking doctrine, cited by Township Attorney Daniel Antonelli, which in his eyes gives the police officers the right to stop individuals for any reason and ask the following questions. May I help you? Are you lost? What are you doing here? In addition, he believes that we should then take down those individuals' names and place them in a database for future reference. Mr. Bradley also believes that he can direct from the comforts of his desk the actions of every police officer in this department. For a year now, every officer has been given a list of locations that he must be at every 15 minutes. Mayor, community policing cannot be done in 15-minute intervals. In addition, recently, again from the comforts of his office, he has instituted a new backup policy, which prohibits officers from backing each other up on motor vehicle stops until the officer calls for help or guesses that he is going to have a problem with the stop and requests the backup. We as a union maintain that our safety on the street is our responsibility and should not be dictated by an administrator. Will he take responsibility, God forbid, if one of us is hurt or killed on a motor vehicle stop, which continues to be our most dangerous function? Probably not. Nationwide, officer deaths are up 40% this year. Is this a time to limit backups? What is more important, officer efficiency or officer safety? Mr. Bradley has made his choice. On June 4, 2007, I met with Mr. Bradley for the first time as state delegate. Mr. Bradley informed me that I should always remember and bring back to my membership two things. Number one, I'm the boss. Number two, CompStat is here to stay. For me, what he was saying was that not the chief, not the township committee, was who I needed to do business with if I wanted to get something done for my membership. By voting for this change of appropriate authority ordinance, you are making Mr. Bradley's claim of, number one, I am the boss, a reality. You will take authority away, not from the police chief or this union, but take authority away from yourselves and the people of Union. I can't understand it. For years, Mr. Bradley's goal has been to drive a wedge between the union and the township committee to validate his attempt to seek power over the police department. An example of Mr. Bradley's manipulating both the union and the township committee is the negotiations for the 2003 contract. As Mr. Florio mentioned at the last township committee meeting, there were two handshake deals during those negotiations, which he believed were later reneged on by the unions. Mr. Florio, I have spoken to the individuals involved in these negotiations from both fire and police. I have been told that the deals that were agreed upon were not the deals that were reported to you by Mr. Bradley. During these same contract negotiations, Mr. Bradley, as a bargaining tool, discontinued the Job in Blue program that many of our younger officers with families relied upon to supplement their income. He did this to force us into signing an inferior contract. As you remember, when we protested this elimination of Jobs in Blue by attending the Township Committee, which was again a conflict directed by Mr. Bradley's policies, no one on the dais, no one from our union chose to fight each other on those nights. It was Mr. Bradley who set the stage and watched, as he is now, as we began to destroy our relationship. Following one of those township committee meetings, Mr. Bradley used the internal affairs unit of our department to conduct an illegal surveillance in an attempt to retaliate for exercising our First Amendment rights. Because of this illegal surveillance, the township has been found guilty by a state commission of violating our rights. I am also aware that Mr. Bradley never told anyone on the township committee that the case was being heard by the state and that the township committee did not become aware of it until you read the decision in the Sunday Star Ledger. I remind you, Mayor and Township Committee, that Mr. Bradley specifically is seeking to take control of the Internal Affairs Unit with this amendment in the ordinance. His abuse of the internal affairs to spy on off-duty officers and his hiding the subsequent legal proceedings from you until the township was found guilty is reason enough not to give him the appropriate authority. Equally troubling is the legal...
Mr. Fuentes, just one moment. I mean, I've been very generous with your timing, but please, I would wish that you would stick to the issues of the ordinance and not personalities. Mr. Bradley may not be here forever.